Hey guys, this is Tessa Jeffers for PremierGuitar.com. I'm here with Jack Sizemore, the guitarist for Jason Aldean Band. How are you today?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. We've got a little sound check going, so hopefully they can hear what we're talking about, and you're going to tell us a little bit about your guitars, so go ahead.
Okay. I take it's about 7 guitars to do Jason's gig. This is my main guitar. I mostly play Les Pauls. This is a deluxe. It's a 1 of 200 made. It's nothing really special, but probably my favorite guitar.
Why is that?
Well, I'd say the tone and the feel of the guitar itself, and it's not, as far as Les Pauls go, it's pretty light, so that's a good feature for me.
Did you say you play it the most?
No, actually, this one gets the most ride. It's another gold top Les Paul, and it's a new guitar I got from Gibson last year, and great instrument for a brand new guitar. It gets the most plays the other night, so. Got a lot of guitars, a lot of old stuff. This is one of them. It's a 83 Ibanez Les Paul, very heavy.
It's pretty.
But a great guitar, and that's my thing out here. I go Craigslist, every town, and Kurt and I, the other guitar player, I found this last year, I think at $300, so.
So that's heavier, way heavier?
Oh yeah. This is one song. I really don't play Fender guitars. I have a few. It's an 87 Strat.
Which song?
The Truth. Yeah. And this guy I got from Paul Reed Smith this year. It's a little longer scale. It's tuned a whole step down, and sometimes dropped on top of that, drop D. So I just started using it this year, and I love it. It's great. It really stays in tune for down there, and
it's got some wicked inlays.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a signature model. It's not an expensive guitar, but I really like it. I just got it this year. And
how often do you play that one?
That's a couple songs, 2 songs now. Yeah. And this guy, one song. It's kind of a string breaker, but I do use it on a song. It's a 61 reissue, a new guitar. I got it last year from Gibson. Love it. I get to do a little Floyd Rose, kind of 80s crap with this. It's a ESP Les Paul with a Floyd, so yeah, I get to have a little bit of fun. Hicktown's the last song of the night is really when I get the biggest.
What do you play? Which guitar?
That's this guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of strings do you use?
D'Addario, and they're 10 to 52, or I think this has 12s on it. Really heavy strings.
What kind of picks do you use?
Just Fender heavy. Nothing special.
Tell us a little bit about your pedals that you have here.
Okay, yeah, I live on this Seymour Duncan pedal. I have about 3 or 4 of them just in case this breaks. And I use an RC pedal. And then my amp company, Buddha, which Peavy owns, they started making pedals this year, and that's one of their distortions. So. But
I've never seen this Seymour Duncan twin tube. Can you tell me how that works?
It has actually a couple tubes in it, and it's just a distortion pedal. It's a 2-channel thing, but I only use the 1 channel. But it's just a kind of a older school distortion. And then I use all the TC Electronics thing for my chorus and delay and anything like that, tremolo or anything I want out of that, and that's controlled by my foot pedal. And then I have 2 different amps. I use a 6505 and a Buddha Bully head that's they just made it for me this year. It's a 3-channel monster, and I switch back and forth between the 2 heads, and I use a 412 cabinet.
And why do you switch?
Just for the 1 amp, just really for heavier distortion, and then basically that's it. It's usually just guitar and amp. I have this tone bone thing here that allows you to use 1 cabinet and 2 heads. It's basically what that thing's doing. And the cabinet is a 412 cabinet that Buddha made for me. Has vintage 30 speakers in it. Other than their stock speakers, I put vintage 30s in there, and they have a ribbon mic on 1 speaker, and then just a 57 on 1 speaker to get the tone out here. The front of house guys like that. So. And
back to the tone bone. How do you switch heads on stage?
I just have a amp switcher out there. I used to use my G-Force to do it, but now my tech built me just 1 little switch out there. You'll see it when you look at the pedal board that just switches back and forth.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today.
so
Have a good show tonight. I'm here with Allison, lead guitarist for Jason Aldean. How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. He's here to show us a little bit about his gear, so go ahead and show us your guitars.
Definitely one of my favorite guitars. You don't think of it as being, sometimes a good lead or crunch guitar, but the tonal qualities really are great in this thing, so I love it. It's the JA15.
How do you deal with feedback in this guitar?
You know what? Luckily for us, our amps are facing backwards, so there's not a lot of stage sound coming forward. We wear ears, so there's not a lot of stage volume to deal with the feedback or reverberation to it, so it's awesome. Sometimes I'll mess with the pickups, obviously, just to get what I like, but this one came out of the box. It was great. I mean, I really do love this guitar.
Even the knobs are pretty.
Even the knobs are pretty, see? We've got a little Wolfgang custom. They kind of relicked this thing for me, which I dug. The guys from EVH came out and saw a show, and they brought me the guitar that they had made for Eddie. And I was like,
wow.
Literally his guitar. And I was playing, I was like, this thing is awesome. I said, you got to get me one. So they gave me a copy of what they made for him, relicked it out kind of like they did for him.
What's with the tape?
Well, the tape is for electric static. Sometimes I'm up there and you hear a little crackle and pop. So they just kind of put that over. Sometimes the belt gets on there.
So the EVH luthier guys that make the guitar saw you play and approached you?
Yeah, I've done some stuff for them. I play their amps too. And
So they're your pals.
yeah, and you know what? I mean, I dig what they're doing anyway. I like the wood. I like the way they treat the pickups.
Are those pickups stock in this model?
They weren't, and I dug the stock pickups, but like I said, this was one of those Eddie copies, and the originals do have that brown thing. It's a little darker on the low end, and for country, sometimes you need a little bit more bite. So I switched them out. I put these Duncans in there, and it seemed to work with the wood really well. It's it's a great match with those pickups in this guitar.
So do you play this one primarily, or do you switch it up?
No, most of them we switch up because we have a lot of tuning differences in our show. Some of them are drop D, some of them are half step down. I have a full step down guitar, so this is about 4 songs in the set.
Is it surprising for people when you bust out your Eddie Van Halen gear?
I don't know. I hope so. I think it's cool. It's like country music isn't, your daddy's country music anymore. It's old rock and roll. That's the way I look at it. 70s and 80s rock has kind of made its way into country music. So, I think it's cool. I mean, people are getting more crunchy sounds, and the guitars are built more that way. It's not all Stratocasters and Telecasters, even though I use those too. But used to be that was all it was. You played a B-bender. I don't even know how to play a B-bender, actually, but...
You're from Nashville, right?
No, I'm not from Nashville. I was born in Iowa, but I do live there. They force you to live in Nashville when you're playing country music. I like it, though. The aforementioned Telecaster. And there's things, we play on Jason's record, too, so, there's times you have to play, and I don't mean this where they do tie your hands behind your back, figuratively, but, you need the Telecaster sound. Or the Stratocaster thing, and like on songs, like on Hicktown, which is one of Jason's first songs, it's definitively Telecaster, on one of those. It's like, okay, I can't not play that live. So I use that for Hicktown, and I'm trying to think if there's another song I played on, but like I said, when you do need that distinctive sound, I still crunch it up quite a bit through the amp, but gotta have the Telly in your arsenal.
Is that just a standard Telly then?
It is. It's one that Fender made me. It's got a little different pickup in it, but that is the one that they gave to me, so.
It's pretty.
There it is.
What kind of strings do you use on your guitars?
Diodario. Consistent as hell.
Gauge? What gauge?
11 gauge usually, and they'll go down to 52s. So a lot of this stuff has dropped, so I need it to be a little heavier gauge.
So are you playing mostly leads?
Yeah, I'm say mostly. I mean, Jack Sizemore, who's the other guitar player, we'll try to interchange a lot, but I guess I do take a little bit more of them. I try not to get caught up in a favorite because then you're kind of married to that, and I always want to try to make sure that the guitar and the part is for the song.
I like it. So what's your number one right now, the guitar you're playing most during the show?
That would probably be the hollow body. Like I said, you wouldn't necessarily think that. You think of Brian Setzer or something when you think hollow bodies, and I love his stuff. But you don't think country music. It just has a great tone, and it works with the amp well. And sometimes you don't know why that is. It just happens. It's a good
That's a nice surprise. You didn't even expect to get that guitar.
Yeah, I know. It was more of a showpiece, and it was like, this looks cool. And like I said, it was more of a, oh my God, I got it. As a matter of fact, I called him the next day and said, I'm keeping this guitar,
Have you tried other models like it, and are they similar, or is that one special?
It's crazy how this is, and every guitar player will say this. You get the same two models, and they just don't sound alike. Whatever it is, the way the one luthier spit on this one or not, or whatever, I mean, that's just the one for me, and like I said, I wasn't giving that one back. This is one of the first ones I got from PRS. It's a satin PRS single cut. This used to be like my all-time favorite guitar. As you can see by the wear on it, that is
Used to be until your other one came along.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a relic job. This is actually, just from wear. I am a P90 fan. I love the P90s of guitars, even though they buzz like hell. It's hard to, get that tonal quality from anything else. I did exchange these for some Lawlers.
What kind of wood is the body?
It's mahogany, rich mahogany.
It's got a carve in it.
Yeah, it's a great. I love the match with the neck and the wood.
Is it heavy?
I'm sorry.
Is it heavy?
I wouldn't say so. It does have some depth to it, but it's not like Les Paul 13-pound heavy,
It looks pretty solid.
It is a solid guitar, and like I said, I do love. This was like my go-to for a while. Sometimes the electricity doesn't necessarily agree with the P90s, but it's hard to beat. So speaking of P90s and PRSs, here we go again. This thing, I drop a whole step for the show. We have a couple songs that I have to play tuned to D, everything down. Same kind of deal with the P90 sound. It's PRS's SE model, which at first, you think, it's the cheaper, quote-unquote, version, but this guitar really sounds good to me. I think it's great, like I said, with the pickups in it. It holds awesome for tunings down a whole step. So it's worked really well. It stays incredibly in tune, and the tone of it's killer to me.
So how many tuning changes do you have a night? A lot?
Yeah, my tech hates me. He really does. I hate me, so it works out. There's a lot of in the studio. We'll use a lot of different tunings, and it's just one of those things that it is what it is. So a lot of guitars, a lot of different tunings. He'll tune on the fly too, like same guitar he'll have to drop 3 songs later.
You're keeping it interesting.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I don't know, driving everybody insane, more like it. Anyway, so this is the full step down guitar. Okay, and this is PRS's version of a Strat. It's their 305. I did change out the pickups a little bit, put Duncans in those, as you can tell. I love the Seymour Duncans. It has Strat qualities and I love Strats, but it has a little more versatility than, obviously the typical Strat. It's got the 5-way and the push pulls, and you can split it if you want, and I think that's great. It doesn't get as out of phasey as the Strats do, which is obviously cool and what the Strats do. But it also gives me a little bit more versatility. I go humbucker on this usually. And
what do you play this one on?
Big Green Tractor, which was Strat on the record. And I had my Strat out here for a while duplicating it, and then I just, like I said, I wanted to have a little bit more play with it, and so this guitar does that trick.
You have a lot of varying models on the road. That's nice.
Yeah, sometimes you like to change it up, and like I said, sometimes it drives people crazy, but you're always I always say that I feel like guitar players are looking for the holy grail. It's like, you never find it, and you're always switching, trying.
Jack said that you guys go pawn shopping a lot.
Yeah, we like to. It's not like it used to be back in me and Jack's heyday, where you'd go find this ultimate guitar that the grandma had stored in her closet for $100. It isn't like that anymore, but, today's version is the Craigslist. Yeah. And Jack's a master at it, by the way. Oh, my God, he will talk somebody down.
What was your last purchase?
On Craigslist? I got a 77 Les Paul wine red one, a deluxe. And I got a good price on it, but, Craigslist is fun, especially when we get to travel. Always checking the local Craigslist. It's like the first thing we do when we're trying to beat each other to the good deal. So. All
right, Kurt. So what effects are you using on stage?
Let's see, the effect box. Well, some of those are secrets. I don't know. No, they're not really secrets at all.
We love secrets.
Okay, good. One of the main ones I use, I shouldn't say main, but as far as different effects, it's called the Adrenaline. It's the Roger Lynn Adrenaline thing, which can, arpeggiate sounds and tones, and it does it in time. I MIDI back to the drummer. He sends me a click to my box. And I use that a lot, Adrenaline. Get some pulsing sounds, some arpeggiated things, which I think is cool and different, especially for country music. I've got a TC Electronics delay that I use, the typical 90 phaser. Klon I used to overdrive my stuff, which is kind of cool. That was a Craigslist purchase. So, and that's basically it. I got a Qtron. A lot of the stuff is real, just specialized. Like some of the signature licks or signature things on the Aldean records have those effects. Obviously, got to bring them out. But I'm not a huge effect guy. I want it to be more the part, and if it needs a little phase or obviously delay and that stuff, I use it. But I just like it to be more raw sounding.
So you're not like toe tapping around the stage?
Well, it seems like I am, but the delays. I always do have delays on, and the type. Whether it's a lo-fi delay or a stereo or a ping pong. I guess I'm always going between those.
Ping pong?
Ping pong, yeah. So, it's this left, right kind of thing. I'm not sure anybody hears that live. I hope they do. I love our sound man, and he's awesome. But more, in our ears, we have in-ear monitors, and to me, it makes the world of difference hearing that stuff. So hopefully it translates.
So do you experiment with different parts each night? Is it kind of like changing up, or no?
No, there's no experimenting. That's kind of one thing we try to hold ourselves accountable to. Like I said, we play on the record. We want it to be consistent. So every night should be the exact same thing. Everything's off stage. I go through some EVH stuff, the 5150 new, I guess it's 5153 amps. And like I said, I've kind of started working with those guys a couple years ago. And one of the guys from EVH had called and said, hey, you should check out our stuff. And I was thinking, well, I don't think it's going to work, but, I'm all into trying stuff. So we sent it out, and I will tell you just straight up, man, I loved it. And the first channel is Fender. I think Fender helped design that thing, and it's really punchy, kind of blackfacey. It's awesome, and I fell in love with it, and I switched that day. Took out my amps and put those in, and I've been.
What were you using before?
Mesa Boogie, which I love Mesa, and I've had a great relationship with them. But it was one of those things again where you're just looking for inspiration, and at that time it was like, oh man. And I've used the stuff in the studio too, country records, and people, they don't see it yet, and they don't know, and they love it. They go, oh my, what amp is that? And I'll tell them, they don't believe it, but it's great. It's very Fendery sounding.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
All right, so for your cabinet, are the speakers stock?
They are, and boy, I'm almost positive they're 25-watt speakers. It's a pretty low watt for speakers. Marshall kind of did that for a while, and it's great. They break up is the deal. They break up really nice. I use mainly the 50-watt head in the live show. I do have a 100-watt head there also. It's mostly backup. I like the sound of the 50-watt better, especially with the cabinet, the way it breaks up.
So you're just using one?
I am using just one head during the show, and like I said, it goes to this cabinet, which is the stock speakers. Again, it just worked,
Tully's basses. Why don't you show us what you got on the road this time?
On the road, pretty much for me, the basses I use on the road are the same ones I record with. So they always travel with me. This one is one of my Sadowskis. It's the original one that's been on every track, Jason Aldean track ever. Is this bass here? It comes on the road with me. It's got 20 years of getting its ass kicked, as you can see. But that's the old. I play this one during the shows.
Would you say that's your number one?
That's the number one. Yeah. This one here, same setup. Sadowski PJ5. They're all my basses are PJ5s. Tuned down a half step for this one, for a particular song that we do called Nothing Town, which is down a half step. So this is just, the only difference is it's down a half step. And pretty much have backups, one backup for each. This backs up the half step down blue one. PJ5, it's that's my calling card. Only Sadowskis for me, have been for years. Best basses in the business as far as I'm concerned. And again, a black one that serves as the backup to my main white one tune standard. The Sadowski preamp, the best preamp in the business for me. These basses, like I said, every Jason Aldean track on the radio ever, any record, has been this main one right here, this white one. So for me, that's where I live.
You've had that for 20 years?
Just about. I'm not going to age myself here. But
what kind of strings do you use?
I use Dean Markley, nickel-plated blue steel, medium gauge. Again, I've been with those guys since 99, so creature habit, I guess. But Sadowski basses.
What's this one?
This is a funny story. I take all these home to record with, and I bring them back out with me. So I always taking out and putting back in. So my tech, when my tech's out here, he if I'm not in from the bus yet, and they get to town a day early, he's got to use his bass to check my rig, which is this pristine PV with the red strings on it. So nothing but the best for Brian, my tech. Every time you experiment, for example, this year we're like, let's change it up. Let's use this black one. And we did it a couple days in rehearsal, and we got to the arena, and our front of house guy, Chris Stevens, goes, man, let's just make sure we're not missing anything. Put the white one back on. And he goes, white one. So, why change it, So basically, this is my amps. This is what I use. Aguilar, been with them forever. These 750s are the old 750s. Real simple. For me, I don't like a lot of EQ. No, it's got, as you can see, the gain, cello, mid, bass, master. That's just a backup. I power 2 single 112s is what I use. And we give this, Chris Stevens takes this Avalon to front of house, and he'll split the signal between my secret weapon. It's an Aguilar tube pre. I take this to my ears, and I love the way that sounds. Very tubey, very gritty, natural overdrive to it that I love. And Chris Stevens will take both of these to front of house, kind of blend them together. So the Avalon's super clean. For my amps, that's about all I use. No, it's loud, but pretty basic for me,
Do you use a lot of effects on stage?
Not a ton, but I do use like a Crybaby bass wah on about 3 songs. I use an old Boss chorus pedal occasionally on a verse of a song, and distortion, like on a song like Johnny Cash. I use a full tone bass drive, distortion on the whole song, just to add something different.
Nice.
Different flavor, And from tour to tour, we'll experiment with different things. It's kind of the fun of it, Never know what we're going to do from year to year as far as, okay, this year we might play something more rock. This year we might tone it down and play it more old school. So it's every year is a little bit different and fun working it up.
Nice. And you said you've been on the road since '99 with Aldean?
Yeah, we met. I met Jason in '98, and we've been in the studio and on the road together since then.
But you live in Nashville as well,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And do you have your own recording company there? Or?
Yeah, we have a production company called Envy, and we produce acts such as Thompson Square and Parmalee, Lindsay L. acts, new country acts, commercial acts.
So you probably know a lot about gear.
Yeah, a lot of gear, a lot of studio time. For me, basically, in the studio, like Aguilar gear in the studio, Sadowski gear in the studio. My pedal board I take on the road, is basically a carbon copy of what I have in the studio.
Pretty streamlined, though.
My theory is if it sounds good live and it sounds good in an arena, it's always going to record good. Not always the case, vice versa. Sometimes you may have a piece of gear that sounds great in the studio, but doesn't translate live. To me, if it sounds good live with everything going on, it's always going to sit in a track good. That's my personal theory, but you know.
And this is your first week of tour. So,
Yep.
have you changed anything up, or are you pretty much sticking with what you had?
You know, like I said, we experimented with some other basses, Sadowski's, but you know, different ones. Comes back to the same old thing, you know. My Aguilar DI, my single 12s that hide underneath the drum riser. Evan Richner over here is our monitor tech, and the ears always sound great. So it's pretty much the same. Chris Stevens, our front of house, is always doing stuff with new subs, bigger subs, you know, which all affect the low end, but it's all good.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Exactly. That's a good lesson, yeah.
Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Tessa Jeffers for PremierGuitar.com.